back to Mondays with Mom, the podcast where my mom, Leah,
Hi.
and I, Jo, dive into her stories, experiences, and the lessons she's hoping I finally take to heart. My mom has always dreamed of turning her life into a book or a movie, and this podcast is our way of making that dream come true, one episode at a time. Right, Mom?
Right, Joey, and thanks for that.
Always.
Right, so here we are back again. And I was at Pilates recently,
Love
which is
Pilates.
exactly, which is something I have finally, please guys, do what I say and not what I do. I say start Pilates from a young age. I finally got myself to start doing some exercise and finally got Jo to do it as well.
After, whatever was it, a year of pushing me to
Well, I don't know about a year of pushing you.
It felt like a full year of hearing about Pilates.
Yeah, I've been pushing myself since my 20s, and I finally got to go to Pilates.
I definitely have not been pushing myself.
I've been pushing you. But besides the point, I was recently at Pilates, and one of my instructors, Mary, shout out to Mary,
Shout out.
was feeling a little bit anxious because her teenage son had gone on a school trip.
Mm-hmm.
And she was waiting for him to get off the flight and send her a message to let her know that they had arrived safely. And then he was going to let her know when they arrived at their hotel and so on. And, she was trying to balance being respectful and overprotective.
Which is a very thin line.
A very fine line. I've never known where that line is. And so I realized that had she been a South African Greek mom, she would have known how to take overprotective to the next level. Because I could see she was anxiously waiting. She knew that the flight, she had her eye on the flight, so she knew that they had landed safely, and now she needed to hear from him. And I was thinking to myself at the time, I wonder what it would have been like for me with you and Tina at that stage.
Well, I know what it would have been like. How it always has been. Where if I don't answer you within 2 seconds, there's a presumption that I've died.
Or mugged.
Or I'm dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yes, or someone's kidnapped you. But I was thinking about when you guys were teenagers, there wasn't the luxury of Life 360, which now is kind of my lifeline. Anyone at Life 360 that'd like to sponsor this podcast, go ahead, because literally Life 360 is one of the best apps ever invented.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, had you and Tina been on a trip and I, probably wouldn't have been as respectfully anxious as Mary waiting to hear from her son, I would have formed a WhatsApp parent support group. I would be calling the teachers. I would be calling the school. I would be calling Interpol. I would have
you got our friends' phone numbers in case we wouldn't answer so that you could call them and ask them why we weren't answering.
Exactly. And I thought this is just normal behavior that all Greek moms do. And I'm understanding that it's a little bit more what South African Greek moms do.
Yeah.
So George, who would try and calm me down when we were traveling, we kind of had a understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So George would always, because sometimes when we traveled and there were 6 of us, so it was me, George, and our 4 children, and we couldn't quite put 6 people in one hotel room.
That would be utter chaos. Can you
exactly.
imagine?
It wouldn't have been a holiday at all.
It would have been torture.
Exactly. And we decided that the second best prize, or which ended up being the best prize, would be for us to always book 3 hotel rooms. So we would book 1 for George's 2 children, 1 for my 2 children, and 1 for George and I.
Which, just side note, I have to just say how lucky and grateful I feel that we even had the ability to do that we had George that could help us out to get the 3 hotel rooms. Because
absolutely,
to be able to afford that it's amazing, and I'm so grateful that we even got all these holidays.
We did have amazing holidays. Thanks, George, for organizing and booking and taking us on all those holidays, which you managed to get it right and score major points with me 99% of the time. the way we would book the rooms, or the way George would book the rooms, and I think he did this for two reasons. One reason was so that he could maintain his own sanity. And the second reason was that he didn't have to go to the nearest pharmacy and get me prescription benzodiazepines because I wouldn't have been coping. Is we would book 3 rooms and George and I would stay in the middle room. And we would have his 2 children on the one side of us and my 2 children on the other side. So I kind of felt like the mother hen.
Yeah.
And I had my little chickens around me and all was good. And George was scoring points.
Yeah. And we had lots of congregating in the other children's rooms in the meantime. Like we weren't staying separate. So there was chaos.
There was chaos and fun, but it was all kind of, I could monitor the fun, or so I thought.
Yeah.
This particular holiday started off a little bit differently. Initially, George told us we were going on this holiday, and I remember how excited we all were because we were going to a place in Western Macedonia region of Greece, which is called Grevena.
Well, I remember that holiday.
And we were going there because it's a place that frequently snows in winter. Now, on a side note, and to any of our listeners who have heard the He's Just Not That Into You episode,
which we hope you have,
which we do hope you have, which explained how George kind of dumped me on my dates the night of the date because he was going to help out his mom. We would just assume that he had this kind of relationship with his mom, let's put it this way, where he had difficulty saying no to his mom.
Yeah.
And by the same token, he had a little bit of difficulty saying no to his dad.
Yeah.
And on this particular holiday, George mentioned that we were all super excited because for us living in South Africa and living in Johannesburg, we very seldom saw snow.
Like our snow was frost, and that was like a freak news story if it happened.
Yes, I think once you had snow, Jo.
I mean, we called it snow. Like it was very generous to call it snow. Like anyone else who's experienced proper snow, like I know friends from like around the world who like they have like proper snowfall, like in New York City or these places. They would look at our snow and then laugh because it was not snow. But trust us, our little in inverted quotes snow made national headlines whenever it happened.
Yes, and we could make these little like bonsai type snowmen. You know, these tiny little ones.
And we would like convince our Greek teachers for a snow day, like let us play in the field with ice.
Yes.
Fun time. So we didn't actually know what snow really was.
No, we didn't. The funniest story, just to go on a complete tangent, because it was the cutest story ever, was when I was working at the Greek school, Seheti, and there was a little boy the one day that it did snow, in inverted commas, as Jo says. And what he did, he was so excited that he had snow that when the teacher let them all out to play, he decided he was going to store the snow in his pocket so that he could play with it later on as well. And he had the snow in his pocket.
I feel so bad.
Needless to say, the poor little boy, within a couple of hours, his pants were completely wet. He was freezing and sobbing. And I thought it was the cutest, most innocent thing that he felt that he could store the snow in his pocket.
Which I guess is also an indicator of how often we had snow if we thought we could store it for later.
Yeah, exactly. And so George was taking us on this snow holiday he had told us about. He even told us that we would get some skiing lessons because George was quite an avid skier.
And a sporty person. Not general all sports, but like...
Not general sports, but skiing, both water skiing and snow skiing were things that...
He would do a lot, like as like a sporty hobby. Like,
yes, I think growing up he did a lot of it, yes. And water skiing he carried on for ages. Obviously, when he moved to Johannesburg, snow skiing
was out of the question.
Yes, I don't even know if he managed, but he was so excited as well. And we were going now to Grevena and we were beyond excited until we had one tiny glitch, which didn't feel like that much of a glitch at the time. George's mom and dad kind of heard about this trip in and amongst all this excitement. Yeah. One of us mentioned it to them and they said, oh, we also want to come along. Mm-hmm. And George...
Which sounds so bad when you don't know the situation, right?
It doesn't sound that bad. Okay, it's not ideal to go on the holiday with your elderly, because they were quite elderly at the time. But okay, I thought that's fine. I mean, if George can dump me for an angiogram, it's okay. We'll bring them along. And so George said to them...
We're never letting that angiogram go.
Of course we can't. He's just not that into me. Well, anyway, George... being George, said to them, okay, listen, if you guys would like to come along, I'll arrange it. Let me do all the arranging. I'll organize you a room. I'll get it all done. And they said, no. We do not want to impose. All we want is for you to give us the name of the hotel, and thereafter we'll arrange everything ourselves. Now, as for not imposing, they had no means to get there. We needed to hire a bigger car with all our suitcases. And so we were all
in a van.
In a van together.
Like basically, like for the South Africans, it was like a mini taxi.
It was like a mini taxi. We were all very squished together, and George's mom was driving us insane every 15 seconds, wanting to light a cigarette. And kind of poor George was caught between the mom that he was going to go for the angiogram for and didn't go on a date with me, and between me giving him these death stares saying that if your mom smokes in this van, well, that's it. We'll see where we can sign on the dotted line. I'm out of here. The holiday's over. And I mean, George wouldn't have allowed her to smoke in the car, but she kept insisting. So the atmosphere in this van was not like kind of this, let's all go on holiday and singing and dancing. It was tense. We were trying to prevent her from smoking. Anyway, we managed to get to the hotel, finally. It wasn't our easiest trip.
Mm-hmm.
And I think George was keeping his composure. He was like very calm and taking it all in. I could see there were like a couple of deep breaths going on, but it was fun. We arrive at the hotel, and it's really, really a cute hotel. It was called Don Costantino.
I remember that hotel.
I remember it was so beautiful. It was like built in stone.
Oh, it was like a chateau.
Yes, it gave very chateau vibes. And as you walked in, they had these dogs that were lying in front of this fireplace. Yes,
like
these husky type dogs. Yes.
Yeah, they were so cute. I think I still have pictures of them on my phone from like, back when we didn't have those phones back in the day, but we had our cameras. I took so many pictures of those dogs. Like it was like the best part of my holiday.
It was actually like a beautiful looking hotel, like quite a small hotel, I would say.
Yeah.
It gave me boutique hotel vibes.
Yeah.
And I got really, really excited when I saw this hotel because it looked really romantic, and it was very close to a ski resort that we were going to go skiing. I think the ski resort's called Vasilitsa.
Yeah, and that ski resort, I think it was the ski resort that had the best hot chocolate I've ever had in my life.
Okay, we'll discuss the hot chocolate in a bit.
Okay, that was the actual highlight of my whole holiday. So that's
I don't know if you were heating up the chocolate or the guy making the hot chocolate, you and your sisters.
We were too young to even know what to do with ourselves.
Yeah, I think so. You were quite young. And I remember now that as we came in, George and I were still sitting at reception, trying to do the check-in. And at the time, which I think, God rest his soul, he's passed away, the owner of the hotel was a Greek-Russian guy. I don't know if you remember him, Jo. He was like this very like burly looking guy, very, very built, and he had like his big cigar. Don't know if you remember any of that, but it keeps me awake at night sometimes.
I remember you talking about it. I don't actually remember him. I can't really picture his face.
That's a good sign because I was concerned. So I'll tell you guys why. What actually happened is George and I were at reception, and the two dear souls, George's parents, my in-laws, that had booked for themselves, that didn't want George to book for them, didn't mention to the hotel that they were both frail and definitely couldn't manage any stairs.
Yeah.
And so they didn't pick up their stuff. Obviously, they couldn't. They got someone to take their stuff to their room, and the room they chose was our room, which was between the two girls' rooms.
Oh, yeah, because initially their room was it was like the basement level.
Yes,
they had to go downstairs, and they couldn't, so they had to switch the rooms.
Well, they didn't even discover where their room was. They shipped off and went into our room, and George and I had to discover the hard way that the room that they had booked for themselves was 2 floors down, and there were no lifts, no elevators.
Yeah.
So there were 2 flights of stairs that you had to go down to get to this room. Now, me not being overprotective at all was now thinking that my children are upstairs. They've got George's parents between them, which is not going to help because the two of them fall asleep. And even if they don't fall asleep, they can't walk to help any young children.
No, and I don't think not saying anything bad about them, but they were like not really at a stage of their life where they really cared that much necessarily. What isn't in terms of like your protectiveness versus their protectiveness, there was like a massive difference.
Well, if anybody has read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
Yeah.
and then the next one, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, there were these two grandparents. There was like Grandma Joe, Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine, and Grandma Georgina and Grandpa George.
Yeah.
And basically what these four people did is they would get into bed and stay there. And if they ever wanted to travel anywhere, they would travel with the bed. And my mom-in-law often did that, traveled with the bed. So she would get into bed
and stay
on a holiday and stay there. I think that holiday she actually didn't really get out of bed.
Yeah.
So listen, at least I've got to give her this. She made really good use of our room. I mean, I probably would have left the room sometimes, maybe not have enjoyed it as much as she did. She really enjoyed that room. She got in and she stayed in. So now, I didn't know this yet. I kind of bounce into the room that's between the two children, and there's a woman in the bed. And it took me a while to realize that the woman in the bed that's in a nightie already is my mother-in-law.
Lots of suitcases as well, considering that she would stay in her one nightie that she had.
She would bring hundreds of suitcases with for all the various occasions where she was, and never ever use any of the suitcases. So there she was in bed, and I kind of like turned around and I gave George like what I would call a death stare. And he kind of went back to the guy at the reception and tried to arrange. And they said, listen, they don't have any other rooms. The only room they have for us is the one that's 2 stories down. Someone's got to stay in that room. Now, obviously, I couldn't put any of the children 2 stories down. And so it was George and I that went there. And we were walking up and down. And I must admit, I was being kind of vocal about my views and my disagreement on this.
Yeah.
And I was kind of moaning the whole way down the stairs while carrying our suitcases down 2 flights of stairs. And I was like grumbling and telling George, well, maybe you shouldn't have been that into me, and we shouldn't even have this relationship because now my children are up there. And the owner of the hotel sensed that there was something going on. And he came to me and he said, why are you so upset? Everyone's happy here. And I said, you don't understand. My mother and father-in-law are in that room, and I've got young children. We have got young children that need care. And he said, don't worry, Mr. Nahoryese. I take care of the children. Εγώ θα προσέχω τα παιδιά. And this was with a cigar. And I thought, oh my word, this is the one that the children need protection against. I thought, oh my word. And he had this real Russian accent, and he gave a smile the way only Russians can smile, which isn't a smile. It's a smirk. And I thought, there go my children.
No, you're not dramatic at all.
I'm not dramatic. Anyway, he was, in the end, he was a decent man. And as you can see, we all did survive the holiday. However, I went down those 2 flights, and George and I had a massive fight.
Yeah.
And I was fighting with him and telling him, what do you expect me to do? And I'm going to be up and down the stairs. On a side note, I think this is the one overseas holiday where I actually lost some weight because I was going up and down 2 flights of stairs so often. So thanks, George, for that. Maybe we should go on one of those now again and I can lose some. But that was the one thing. So we got into this massive fight. Eventually, he got so angry with me. He said, you know what? I'll stay down here by myself. Why don't you go upstairs and stay in the room with your children? And I thought, oh, Lord. Anyway, so the holiday went on. My annoyance was like slowly subsiding, not completely, because we had a few incidents. I mean, the annoying thing was that I would have just liked to run up and down in my nightie, possibly at night, check on my children. And that's the reason why I liked the hotel rooms to be closed, because I could slip out of my room, slip into one of the children's rooms, slip back in without anyone having seen me. But 2 flights and across a corridor and past reception, everyone was going to see me. Unfortunately. And it happened this holiday to be at a time where Tina was losing a tooth, which was an absolute nightmare for me because over and above the rest of my issues, I was trying to keep the tooth fairy story alive. And so I would be waiting for Tina to fall asleep. I had explained to her that this is Greece now. I tried to explain the concept of exchange rate. I don't know how much she got it, but I had told her that if the tooth fairy is really happy with your tooth, you're going to get a shiny €2 coin under your pillow. So I needed Jo and Tina to fall asleep that I could sneak this coin under Tina's pillow. And the two of them would not sleep. I don't know what the Russian man had been giving them in their cold drinks, but they would not sleep. And it was getting to be late at night, and I couldn't even change into my PJs or my nightie. I had to wait for these two children to fall asleep. So I would come up to the room, and they'd say, "Mom, what are you doing in the room?" And I'd say, "Oh, no, I just came to say goodnight. I forgot to hug you guys after I said goodnight." So I'd say goodnight, go downstairs, wait for half an hour, come back up, and they'd say, "Mom, you're here again." I'd say, "We forgot to say our prayers." So we would pray again, and I would specifically leave out the amen at the end of the prayer in case I needed it as my next excuse. So go downstairs again. Half an hour later, I'd come up and they'd say, "Mom, what are you doing here?" And I think they were getting suspicious of me. And I'd say, "Well, after we prayed, I forgot to say amen. So I came up to say amen." And you guys don't have a clue. The number of
You're
excuses.
very forceful.
The number of excuses I had to come up with. And all I wanted was to get out of my clothes and lie in bed and relax and attempt not to throttle my husband. So as the holiday went on and everyone survived, and at some point, I kind of realized it wasn't George's fault. He was in a difficult position. What could he have done? And the children were all surviving. And George said to me, "You know what? Let's go on a drive.
Okay.
Let's just go on a drive, you and I." And we went on this drive and we were following the GPS so we could know where we were going. And then suddenly there was no GPS. And suddenly the map that had all these street names, it was just this big green mass. And we had no idea where we were going. So I don't know, it took us another 3 hours. We came back. By this stage, this was the most stressful relaxation I've ever had in my entire life. I was like screaming, my children. We got back. The children were having the time of their lives.
Yeah.
They had been ordering room service, which the Russian guy was bringing in for them. And they were literally having a time because there was no parent monitoring them. And so, they were having a lot of fun. I was stressed out beyond the point of no return. And so George says to me, "You know what, my baby? What we need is, I've heard in this hotel, there's a hammam."
Uh-huh.
And he says you can book it for a private session. Now, hammam, for anyone that hasn't been on one or gone on one, it's kind of this Turkish bath ritual.
Yeah, I think we discussed it in like a previous episode.
Did we mention a hammam?
Yeah, the last spa episode, actually.
The last one was a razul, Jo.
Oh, it was Razul.
There you go. So a razul and a hammam are totally different.
Okay.
So a hammam is this kind of a Turkish bath ritual where, again, I mean, it's got some elements of the other one where you do have the steam bath and various little processes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if you've got someone doing it for you, they sometimes kind of scrub you to exfoliate you and that kind of thing. But this one was a personal couples one.
Okay.
So there's no one else exfoliating you but your couple.
Uh-huh.
And so George had said to me, "This is what we're going to do to relax, my love." And I thought, okay, this is perfect.
Okay.
So this was one floor below us. So now we were already 2 floors down, and this was on the 3rd floor.
All right.
Underground.
Yeah.
And they give us this key, and we go inside and lock the door and leave the key on the door and get undressed and start going through, because again, there was this process that was guiding you. You would first go into one jacuzzi and you would relax. You would then go out and exfoliate and then go into another one. And finally, because there was no one else in it and they didn't expect you to be massaging each other, they had these very fancy massage chairs.
Okay.
These giant armchairs. So George and I started, and I think after a while, I'm trying to recall if we might have even taken down a bottle of champagne, just to like relax the nerves and calm me down and the mood. And boy, the nerves needed relaxing. And so we were doing this and enjoying it and doing the steam baths. And once again, you're not going to steam bath with clothes on. The two of us were in this hammam place naked. And went from one bath to the other, and everything was going really well. We were really enjoying it, and we went through the whole ritual. This time, everything worked as it should. And the last part was getting onto the chairs. So we get onto the chairs, and then what you had to do is, while you were on the chair, which basically you would sit on the chair, you would lean back, almost like in South Africa, they used to call them lazy boys, or in possibly elsewhere in the world, you could call it some kind of reclining armchair. And you would sit on this chair and set the program. There were instructions where you press go, and then the chair starts to massage you.
Okay.
Or so it should. And
Oh, no.
as I sat in the chair and I pressed the button, it was the weirdest thing because from the arms of the chair, from the leather,
Yeah.
these handcuffs emerged that were covered in leather and grabbed each one of my wrists and
my word.
handcuffed me to the chair. And as I was like trying to think, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'll get my feet out. Your feet were handcuffed as well.
Oh, no.
And I was so shocked. Like I couldn't even speak in the beginning that I thought, okay, let me warn George.
Yeah.
But by the time I warned George, one of his hands and feet had gone as well. And he was trying to look around. He ended up sitting in the chair. He was handcuffed as well. And the massage process began. And I thought, okay, all right, stay calm. We're handcuffed here. The door is locked on the inside. No one can help us. There's a nice Russian guy with a cigar upstairs to look after my children. And I've got Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina in bed sleeping. So my children are taken care of. There's nothing to worry about. I'm thinking one day they're going to find George and my remains. We were lying on these chairs and we were being massaged. The massage lasted 2.5 hours.
Oh, my word.
We were handcuffed. And I mean,
it's crazy.
At some point, we actually just had to laugh. The two of us just had to laugh because the situation was so impossible. And I kept thinking, like, we're actually going to die. There's no other way. Like, they're going to find the two of us. And I kept thinking, like, but do I look good in this? I was trying to work out what position to try lie in so that when they find me dead, I don't look so bad naked. Like, I didn't want any fat rolls to be showing. So I thought, like, I'll try lie in this comfortable position. It was unbelievable. And eventually George and I just sat there. We had no option but to sit there and just laughed. We were killing ourselves laughing. Well, after that, I needed at least 7 full body massage to recover. I was so stressed. And then I remember.
That's so funny.
I mean, it was the most stressful relaxation I've ever had. Eventually, after 2.5 hours, the handcuffs just released. And we got up. I mean, boy.
At least they released.
Yeah, they released and we had been massaged. But by this stage, I was having a full-on nervous breakdown. This was literally mind over matter. I felt like I was in a straitjacket. And, you know, it was very, very difficult to adjust your position when you're literally handcuffed.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, is this what they do in, I don't know, in...
That's a torture method.
Exactly. Needless to say, this was not the most relaxing time I'd ever had. And then we went out and we decided we all going to go, not that day.
Yeah.
I think that day I drank more champagne and George and I must have shared another 3 bottles to feel better.
Oh, word.
And then the following day we were going skiing.
Uh-huh.
And we tried to ski because I think 2 snowflakes fell from the sky that particular winter. Every other winter it had snowed.
Yeah. The one time we went to get a snow vacation was the one time it didn't really snow that much.
I mean, we went for skiing lessons, which were a little bit of a joke. They were quite funny because we were skiing on 2 meters of snow and we still thought that, like, whoa, look, I'm doing the slope. And I think the incline was like 1 degree or something. And we were getting all excited. And eventually the time came that the holiday was over.
Yeah.
We hadn't really skied, although you did have a lot of hot chocolate. There was a very cute young guy at the ski resort. And now that I come to think of it, he did take you all out on a snowmobile.
Yeah, that was fun.
So he did find an area where there was snow. So you couldn't really ski, but you did all go on a snowmobile. And I think all our children were completely in love with this guy. His name was Dimitri. And all they could do, I mean, the number of hot chocolates they would consume just to, like, have more time to talk to Dimitri.
No, I had that.
You could have had cacao poisoning.
The hot chocolate was very good. I wasn't just having the hot chocolate to, like, spend time with a guy.
Okay. Well, I mean, and in general, the holiday was great, but we didn't have any snow and we didn't have any relaxation. And I didn't have my children on either side of me.
Yeah.
And then the day comes that we're leaving. And as we try get out, we get to the hotel lobby and it's suddenly like snow paradise.
Yeah.
It had snowed the entire night. It looked unbelievable.
It was amazing, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. But now we were leaving.
Yeah.
And then we were catching a flight back to South Africa.
Yeah.
And so now this was George's time to be stressed.
Because driving on snowy roads and stuff.
Now he was driving on snowy roads, and now we were in a hurry, and now he had to put chains on his car. And I was giving him warning looks that the children are not to learn any new 4-letter words. No, don't even think about it.
You're so funny.
So anyway,
that was quite a holiday, hey?
That was quite a holiday. So the lessons learned from that.
Yeah, tell me some life lessons from this.
Is that if you're going to be overprotective with your children, try leave your in-laws out of it.
Maybe don't do weirdo spa treatments.
I think that lesson, I'm still learning that lesson. Maybe I should maybe I just wasn't designed for spa treatments, and neither was George. Couple spa treatments are out, guys. Do individual treatments and meet each other afterwards. I would say snow comes when you least expect it.
Oh, that's so profound.
Don't allow anyone to handcuff you ever. Don't do it. Find something else. If you're into something kinky, minus the handcuffs. I mean, handcuffs are out for me because it's PTSD now. So
I don't even know what to say to that.
Me neither. On that note.
What are we grateful for?
Okay, well, I'm really, really grateful for that holiday.
Yeah, it was a fun holiday despite all the drama, which honestly I didn't really pay much attention to. I think it was more like you and George.
Yes, it probably was me and George because we were trying to do our best to make sure our children had a great time.
Yeah, and it was a great time. So I'd say mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. So I'm really grateful to George for those awesome holidays.
Yeah, me too.
I think that had the in-laws not been there, I probably wouldn't have had such an adventure.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say I was grateful for the in-laws, but I'm saying that things worked out the way they should have.
Yeah, everything was as it should have been. Like it worked out the way it was meant to.
And on the last day, we did see the most amazing snow. And I do remember that George stopped on the side of the road and we actually got to build a snowman.
Yeah, our first snowman. It was very fun.
And he was like a proper snowman, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and those dogs at the hotel were very cute.
They were in the fireplace.
So I'm grateful for dogs.
And if that hotel still exists and anyone wants to look it up, it really was a beautiful hotel.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun.
Just don't book it with your in-laws.
And on that note?
On that note, it's been great fun once again.
It has. It always is.
I've noticed that our subscribers are going up, which is really, really exciting for us. So guys,
Super exciting. So if you like this episode and you still haven't subscribed to us yet, let this be your sign to subscribe. It really helps us out and we so appreciate it.
And doesn't cost a cent.
Not a thing. It's free. But it does really help us. So again, we really would appreciate it.
And thanks to all our listeners.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to chatting to you again next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.